Well, hello and warm welcome. You're watching Blueprint Explosive Exclusive and I'm Meghna Deka. The focus today is going to be the race to the White House, which was, of course, nothing less than the edge of a seats thriller. In fact, in just a few hours from now, US will go into vote to make their choice for the Oval Office. The first ballot, of course, was cast already in New Hampshire. As per the last update which is coming in, the voting is currently underway in more than 20 US states, including 2 swing states of Pennsylvania as well as Michigan. Of course, we are getting you live ground reports is there. We have our colleagues who are going to be joining us. There will be Jessica joining us from Virginia. We'll also be joined by Malavika Jain from Washington, D.C. Well, of course, the swing states, they are the ones who are going to be the venue of the biggest battles. The last rallies of both the candidates were held in the swing states. On one hand, you have the Tesla boss, who is also the owner of social media platform X, has been a staunch supporter of Donald Trump during his campaign. Kamala Harris had a long list of celebrities as well, sharing stage with her during her rallies and trying to woo Americans to vote for the first ever woman president, also of color. Now, during her last rally in Philadelphia, Lady Gaga, adding more star power, was Lady Gaga as well as Oprah Winfrey. They all came out in support of Kamala Harris. In fact, not just them, several other A-listers, be it Beyonce, be it Taylor Swift, be it Jennifer Lopez, George Clooney, you say it and you've had the biggest stars coming out in the campaign season of United States. In fact, on the other hand, Trump had also had support from the biggest names such as Hulk Hogan, you had Kid Rock, you have Kanye West, to name a few of them. So here's what they had to say in support of their candidates. What's some of this?
Your money is being wasted, and the Department of Government Efficiency is going to fix that. We're going to get the government off your back and out of your pocketbook. America's just not just going to be great. America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing.
You know, when I hear my president and our president, Donald Trump, speak, he sounds for real, brother. He sounds like he has a heart of gold that's all for the USA. But when I hear Kamala speak, it sounds like a script from Hollywood with a really, really bad actress.
I like when the good guy, or in this case, the good girl, wins. We should be upset. We should be scared and outraged. We should. You can't even spell American without Rican. This is our country too, and we must exercise our right to vote on November 5th.
I'm not here as a celebrity. I'm not here as a politician. I'm here as a mother. A mother who cares deeply about the world my children and all of our children live in. A world where we have the freedom to control our bodies. A world where we're not divided. Our past, our present, our future merge to meet us here.
For more than half of this country's life, women didn't have a voice. Yet we raised children. We held our families together. We supported men as they made the decisions. But tomorrow, women will be a part of making this decision. Today, I am holding in my heart all the tough, tenacious women who made me who I am. I cast my vote for someone who will be a president for all Americans.
Now, we all know what we're voting against. So I want to end by reminding you about a few things that we're voting for. We are voting to defend and protect the Constitution of the United States. We are voting for values. We are voting for values and integrity. We are voting for the right to choose what happens to our own bodies.
Well, there you just saw how star power was added to the campaign trail of US polls. So the question, however, is can this fanfare really translate into votes? Can the celebrity influencers swing the US presidential elections? Well, let's get you ground reports. Joined today here on Times Now, we have Jessica Stone of the Voice of America, a correspondent joining us live from Virginia. We're also today joined by Malavika Jain, live from Washington, D.C. Well, I'm going to come to you first, Jessica, because you're joining us from Virginia. That's where the polls have already opened and candidates are fighting for seats in the Congress as well as the local office. What's the turnout been like? What's the mood like on the ground?
We've had a steady stream since 6 a.m. local time, which is about 2 hours ago, of voters coming in to vote. In fact, when the polls opened at 6 a.m., we had a flood of people, about 60 people come right in to begin to wait in line. And if I look behind me, I see people still waiting in line through the glass doors there. So I believe the wait here is about 15 or 20 minutes. Or excuse me, 5 or 10 minutes, I should say. What was 15 or 20 minutes was early voting on Friday here in the state of Virginia. And that line was definitely longer, but that did not translate into people voting in greater numbers early. We actually had about a third of the registered voters here in the state of Virginia vote early. And overall, nationally, about half of those who voted early in 2020 have voted this election cycle early.
Oh, that's very interesting. The early votes, what does that really mean? Well, let me also bring in Malavika, who's joining us from Washington, D.C. Now, Malavika, as we all remember, the security there must have been very tight, especially if there is a silence before the storm kind of a situation, because we all remember the Capitol Hill attack which had happened. Is Washington, instead of being enthusiastic about the elections, is that really bracing itself for the security risks which may come in?
Not on the typical street. If you go on the typical street, things are open, the polling booths are open. I'm right now actually at a polling booth in Maryland. I moved from Washington, D.C. to here to come observe how voting is taking place, and things seem pretty calm. People are walking in to cast their ballots. The polling booths are not very crowded. I'm at a public school. The school has a holiday today, and most people are just coming in, casting their ballot, and leaving. Who they are voting for, I think one thing I've noticed, they're not very open right now to talking about their voting preferences with the media. They want to keep it very private because they obviously have apprehensions, it seems, about how other people might react to their voting preferences. Because remember, it's a very tight race, both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, and feelings are flaring up based on which candidate voter might be voting for.
One very interesting flashpoint that we've been watching all throughout the US campaign. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon for that. Meanwhile, one thing that we have been looking at, Jessica, is the star power which really has been coming out. Of course, we know that when Taylor Swift, for example, post-endorsing Kamala Harris, that had led to, in that post alone, that had led to roughly 400,000 people clicking on the voter information website, which was linked to Harris. Now, Trump also, of course, got Elon Musk and the entire Twitter world rooting for him. But the big question is, do celebrity influencers, those like we can see on our screens as well, will they really translate into votes? The fanfare that they share for these celebrities, but translate into votes for the candidates that they are endorsing?
Yeah, so there is a little bit of data on this and some research on this, and it does indicate that about 1 in 10 Americans, according to a YouGov poll, do vote based on the association of a celebrity with a politician, but it can also cut against the politician depending on which celebrity it is, and it can also cut against the celebrity, their association with that politician. So it's not conclusive. That said, we did see a spike in registration, and what we know about youth registration in particular is that 8 million people are registered, or excuse me, old enough to vote for the first time in the United States, and nearly half of them are Latino or Latina. So you're really seeing a lot of Latina and Latino celebrities take to the trail. You saw Jennifer Lopez come out, particularly right after those Puerto Rico comments were made in Madison Square Garden by the comedian at the event for Donald Trump, and that really caused a firestorm in the Latina and Latino community. So this Hispanic vote is really being desired by people on both sides, but definitely on the left. Kamala Harris does not want to lose this population, and she is going very heavily after the youth vote for her election campaign.
And that's very interesting, Malvika. I'll come to you. That's very interesting because at the Democratic convention itself, Kamala Harris earlier, at the time of the campaign trail, in the earlier part, had said that celebrities don't really drive any campaign. There's going to be issues. Obama said that American culture puts a premium on things that don't last, such as money, fame, status, likes. But as we were pointing out, the last leg of campaign, especially for Kamala Harris, the big star guns seem to have come down. What really changed the strategy?
You want to go to the card?
Malvika? I'm sorry, that question's for Malvika. Can you hear me,
I'm sorry,
Malvika?
I missed your question in between because I was trying to get a voter to talk to me, but they refused to talk to me because there are restrictions here on when you are inside the polling booth, whether people can talk to you or not. So I will be getting your reaction once I go out. I think you were broadly asking me about the change in Harris's campaign. You are seeing that this is a neck-to-neck race, and we have been reporting on this constantly. There are celebrities who have endorsed Harris. And as Jessica was just pointing out, the 1/10 of the voters are likely to be influenced by such influencers. And we should remember that there are a lot of Gen Z voters who are going to be going out to vote. And this is an age of influencers. You know, it's only natural for politicians to tap into influencing Bollywood stars popping up during campaigning in India as well. So it's not an unusual move. But that said, we are seeing a lot of door-to-door knocking also being done by the Harris campaign, while Trump has mainly focused on his mega rallies until the D-Day.
Now, Jessica, coming back to you, we heard a lot of these celebrity endorsements which were coming in. But the question is, can it swing a voter's mind on policy matters as well? Because it's not just about whether or not you're a fan of a certain person, a certain celebrity, but the policy matters which are being pitched by the two very ideologically divergent sides.
Yeah, and we're certainly seeing female celebrities come out in force on behalf of Kamala Harris in favor of more reproductive rights in the wake of Roe v. Wade being overturned in 2022 at the U.S. Supreme Court. What's not being said on the campaign trail is how little control the U.S. president has over that policy, because now that it's been overturned, it has been returned to the states. So the focus for voters really needs to be changing the law at the state level. And so that would mean that the down ballot races are much more important for people to weigh in on than the presidency. But this is an animating force, and there are at least reproductive rights are on a variety of ballots. At least nine states across the country also have referenda, have different amendment decisions before the voters, and that is also being used to just increase the number of voters overall who will vote and weigh in on this issue. This is also part of why more women are voting on this issue on both sides of the aisle, because it is an animating force for women voters in particular.
That's very interesting. Thank you so much for joining us, Jessica Stone, Voice of America correspondent, joining us live from Virginia. And thank you, Malavika Jain, for joining us live from Maryland as well. Of course, it's interesting to see who's got the edge. Well, can celebrity endorsements translate into votes? Well, very shortly, hopefully, this week itself, we'll have the answer for that.